Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. How is everybody around? I hope that you are doing well due to this COVID-19 and the subsequent lockdown. Everyone has to stay home and stay safe, especially students at schools and universities level. We begin with Sociology Weekly Lecture 1. The notes have already been provided to you. This is just an ancillary means to help you understand those notes well enough. We begin with the word first. That word is meant by the word sociology. We begin with the meaning of the word. As we all know, that etymology is the study of the origin of the words. Etymology tells us where from the words have come and how are they used. So, if we analyze the word sociology, we find that it is derived of two words, a stem and a suffix. The stem is socius. It has been taken from Latin and its meaning is companion or friend. Ology or logos, this is the suffix, and it has been taken from Greek. Its meaning is the knowledge or study of. So if we join the two together, socius and logos, it would give us sociology. So the literal meaning of sociology gets to be the companion of knowledge. When we move on further to semantics, where semantics is the meaning of technical terminology of the word, how this has been used. So, the scientific study of human social life. I repeat, the scientific study of human social life. So, for academic reference, we may define that sociology is a social science that studies the social processes of human life from individual to group. Now, what are those social processes? What do we understand from individual to group, which is the entire range of the scope of sociology? We would be trying to understand these in a simple and easy to follow manner. Before we proceed further, there are a few key terms that we need to understand, like science, social science, society, culture, bias and prejudice. Science simply means to unveil, to uncover, to discover, to know, to find cause-effect relation between any phenomenon, from one phenomenon to the next. Social, related to group, broader than individual. One is individual, but two is social. Social science, when cause-effect relationship is used to investigate social phenomena. Society, the largest human social group that has its own culture and common territory. Culture, a set of all material and immaterial patterns of behavior that a group of people follow. Bias and prejudice, when your personal like and dislike or belief affect your judgment. Now, if we look at science, there are two ways to begin. We may zoom in at the things, or we may zoom out at the things. This zooming in and zooming out is only one way or the other to investigate the relationships. Science, if we move on from cause to effect, this is inductive logic. When one phenomenon is the cause and the other phenomenon is its effect, this is called inductive logic. While if we go the other way around, when one phenomenon is effect having another phenomenon as its cause, this is deductive logic. Now, if we just look at these two orientations, they are exactly the same. The only thing that matters is where from we begin, how do we proceed, and where do we end. When we begin with cause and arrive at effect, this is inductive logic. While when we begin with effect and move towards cause, this is deductive logic. Now, this comparison of the two orientations of logic, inductive and deductive, can be understood in a simple manner by looking around ourselves, by looking what is actually happening all the times in our social and natural life. Inductive logic is a specific argument. We begin with specific argument and we move to general conclusion. While in deductive logic, we begin with general argument and we move to specific conclusion. Please have a look at them again. Inductive logic is specific argument to general conclusion. Deductive logic is general argument to specific conclusion. Now, how would we understand these two? Let's have a look at this simple example. Looking at a basket of mangoes. When we look at a basket of mangoes and we just zoom it out. Now, how are we going to do that? We just take a couple of mangoes from the basket. And when we take them, we observe them, and when we find that the selected sample mangoes are ripe, then we may say that all mangoes in the basket are going to be ripe as well. This, if and then, if selected sample mangoes are ripe, then all mangoes in the basket are ripe. This kind of result, this kind of conclusion is logically true, but it may or may not be realistically true. When we look at the next example, looking at a bird and feathers. Deductive logic is zooming in instead. If all birds have feathers, then a parrot also has feathers because it is a bird. Now this if and then conclusion would give us a result that would be logically true, and it would also be realistically true. This was just an understanding of how things are going to work when we look at sociology. The lecture contents in the notes that have already been shared with you is introduction to sociology, definition, nature and scope of sociology, fields of sociology, development of sociology. The same key terms: sociology, science, social science, society, culture, bias and prejudice. If we just begin with a simple understanding of sociology, we find that sociology is a social science like economics, political science, anthropology, psychology, and other disciplines of the same creed. That's fine. Sociology is a social science like the others. But the question is that what do we understand by social science? And if we just go further around, we may say that forget about sociology, forget about social science. Let's begin with the first word, science. That what is meant by science? It's natural that when we are going to have the word science coming into our ears, we say or we imagine that there is going to be a laboratory, a microscope, a lot of glass equipment like beakers and funnels, jars and test tubes. But this may not be all the times the same. Science is something broader than having such an imagination or having such a perception. As we studied in the slides earlier, that science is simply to establish a cause-effect relationship between any two phenomena. So, as in the first paragraph, in order to understand sociology, we had to go through social science and more particularly science. So, this paragraph is an explanation of this particular word science. That science is a cause-effect relationship about any phenomenon. We link one phenomenon to the other. A phenomenon, its plural, phenomena, is anything that you can perceive with your five senses. If you can see something, or hear something, or smell something, or touch or taste something, this is a phenomenon. Now, in the world, in the real world where we live, there are two types of phenomena. There are natural phenomena and there are social phenomena. For example, we can perceive the occurrence of days and nights, rain showers, heat in summers and cold in winters, sprouting of seedlings into plants and flowers blossoming. All these are phenomena from our natural world. We also perceive that people around us are born like ourselves, grow, fall sick, get old, and die. All these are natural phenomena, of course. Similarly, when we move from this natural world around us, we are a part of this natural world, and at the same time we are all going to constitute a social world, a world of living in groups. So we also have, like a natural life, having all these natural phenomena, there is a social world comprising of all the social phenomena. Now, what is social life? Living in groups is a social phenomenon. For example, we find that children and adults going to schools, colleges, and universities. We see them learn languages and acquire skills like driving, cooking, swimming, working with computers. We observe that countries go to war. We see people writing, playing music instruments, building roads, dams, and bridges. We may observe things like all these every time, or some of the times, or all the times. All these that we discussed as an example, all these are social phenomena. So, in short, any activity that we do in our group life, in our social life, that can be observed, that can be perceived by others around us is a social phenomenon. Now, it's very interesting to know that we are both the creators and observers of these social phenomena, of all these social phenomena taking place in our social life. Now, once done with this, we understood what a phenomenon means. We go forward and explain that what science is then. Because in order to define science, we needed to define and understand a phenomenon. Now, we are done with defining phenomenon. We are done with defining the two types of phenomenon, that there are natural phenomena and there are social phenomena. So, we move further. We already know that a phenomenon can be a natural one, like plants growing, days and nights occurring, or a social one, learning a skill or talking to a friend. When you logically, and what do we mean by logically? When we use our reason and observation, find that what causes what. This can be a cause and this can be an effect. If we move this way from cause to effect, it is establishing a cause-effect relationship. Reciprocally, we may move on from effect to cause. It still is science, it still is establishing a logical relationship of cause-effect. So, what causes what? When we establish this what causes what relationship between any two phenomena, be natural or social, this is simply science. Now, this what causes what can be done in the natural phenomena, in the natural world, while it can also be done in the social world. So, let's have a look at it. We know that water boils at 100 degrees of Celsius. Now, if we just take an example of this boiling of water and try to establish this cause-effect relationship, we may say that in the example, boiling of water is an effect, and the heat that raises its temperature to boiling is the cause. Boiling of water is an effect, and the heat that raises its temperature to boiling is the cause. This cause-effect relationship, establishing this cause-effect relationship, is science. When we establish such a relationship, saying water boils as an effect due to an increase of its temperature when heat is transferred into it as its cause, this is simply science. Heat, cause, boiling, effect, cause-effect relationship. As we did to a natural phenomenon, this mechanism of analysis, this understanding of establishing a cause-effect relationship can exactly be done in the same manner in our social work. We can exactly do the same to a social phenomenon. For example, why people learn to speak, why they go to work. Let's have a look at a typical social spectrum of phenomena. Various events, various things happening in our social world, and let's have a look at them all. We know that we are born, and when we are born, we cannot sit, walk, or run. Why is it so? We are not driven by instinct only, like a fish or a bird or any other animal. Animals are instinctively driven. When a fish is born, nobody teaches a fish how to swim. Nobody teaches a bird how to fly. They are driven by their instinct. They're genetically programmed to do so. But when a human is born, we adopt from our surroundings all the skills, all the social processes. We learn how to speak, how to sit, walk, get dressed up or behave. We go through a whole series of socialization. This is due to the fact that we live in groups and our behavior. This is due to the fact that we live in groups and our behavior is affected by people living around us in various groups. We cannot afford to live alone. We are born in groups, we grow in groups, we get old in groups, and ultimately we die and leave all these social groups. We are born in a family, learn in schools and universities, work in a workplace, go to masjid or other place of worship, attend a wedding or funeral ceremony, vote for a political party or candidate, and take part in various communities of work, entertainment, and other common purpose. So all these are the explanations to social groups, social life altogether. Why we do this all? To satisfy our needs. We cannot satisfy all our needs alone. In order to satisfy our needs, we have to be in all these social groups one way or the other. Our needs drive us. Do so and continue doing so as long as we live. We are born in a social world, grow and work in a social world, and we die in exile. As long as we live, we are in this social world. Now, if you just look at this simple figure, every jigsaw puzzle piece, every constituent unit of this entire architecture is a social interaction. This is how we are linked to each other, and this is how our everyday behavior, formal and informal, official or unofficial, covert or overt, this is going to link us all together and make up the entire social world. When we apply the same rule of investigating a cause-effect relationship as we can do in the natural world, when we apply the same to our social world and we try to analyze two or more social phenomena, it is a social science, no matter it is sociology, economics, anthropology, psychology, or any of them. To sum up, a social science is the study of establishing a cause-effect relationship between any social phenomenon, and sociology is one such social science. These are a couple of definitions for you. There's no need to go through them, but as a reference, I would suggest that you need to understand them, go through every one of them, and then try to arrive at a definition of your own. This is what I expect of you all. I'll just pick one of them: the systematic study of human behavior, the groups to which one belongs, and the societies that human beings create and within which their lives unfold. Human behavior, groups, societies, lives unfold. Think about the fact that why these words have been highlighted and underlined. If we just go through the nature and scope of sociology, it is an active and dynamic social science. It studies human social life, anything and everything. I repeat, anything and everything that we do in our social life is the subject matter of sociology. In our daily life, our behavior affects others. Also, we are affected by the behavior of others. This is like defining environment. What do you think? What can be a very simple, reasonable, and suitable definition of environment? An environment is our surrounding. Anything in our surrounding that can affect us, or we can affect it, or both are there. We affect our surrounding, or our surrounding is going to affect us. This is our environment. So we have a natural environment and we also have a social environment. While living in the social environment, we affect others and we are affected by others. This is true both the ways. Thus, it's a dual way traffic of affecting others and being affected ourselves. Sociology studies how and why. How and why. This process of affecting and being affected takes place. We are members of various social groups at some times or all of the times. We live in a complex web of social relationships. If you want to understand this, it's very easy. Think about your own selves. Begin with your own selves. You have parents. To someone, you might be a son or a daughter. To someone else, you are a brother or a sister. In times to come, some of you might currently be a husband or a wife. Similarly, a father or a mother. At the same time, you are a class fellow, you are a neighbor, you are a citizen, you are a Muslim, or you may belong to any other religion. So, all these social identities for one single individual, like myself, like yourselves, it means that every one of us is living in a complex web of social relationships. It is natural to be curious about our natural and social surroundings. We observe the things around us. In our social life, in our social world, we study all these social phenomena. We want to know how we are different than others and how we are the same. These similarities and differences, both are there. These similarities and differences, these are socially sensitive. We are socially sensitive in its understanding. This social sensitivity makes sociology a very interesting social science, like all other social sciences. In sociology, we try to find answers to questions like how are we different than others? How are we like others? Sociology has three paradigms: theory, data, and analysis. This is how you are going to develop your perspectives. This is how you are going to understand the social dynamics of life. There are certain theories. You would go through field research or secondary nature of research and collect data. Then, once you are done with this data, you are going to analyze this. So, theory, data, and analysis. These are the three paradigms of sociology. Now, perspective is looking at the things. These are the viewpoints. A sociologist studies human society in a scientific manner. And by scientific manner, as discussed earlier, we simply means to establish a cause-effect relationship. This is not something like our own opinion. This is not something like our own like and dislike. This is not something like our own beliefs. A sociologist uses concepts, theories, paradigms, and methods of scientific investigation to find the objective understanding of social processes in human life. Objective understanding simply means where there is no personal like and dislike involved. A very practical and simple example can be when we say, when we are going to observe, like you are in a class, you are a group, and if the teacher is going to write at the board anything that all of you are known to, so everyone has to answer it the same manner. These are facts. There is no room for opinion in any of the sciences, whether we talk about natural sciences or we talk about social sciences. There are various theories in sociology. We cannot afford to go for an extensive understanding of these in this lecture. In times to come, in the next couple of lectures, we would just try to go through the gist of it. At what are they? Functionalism, conflict theory, symbolic interactionism, postmodernism, and feminism. A sociologist can use a number of methods for scientific investigations. The most commonly used methods are as under. Field methods, when you are going to observe the things. And what is that? The participant observation, when the researcher or investigator get involved into the social processes that he or she is studying. When you are a part of that social phenomenon, or when you are a part of that social process that you are going to study or investigate. Experiments, when the researcher does not involve personally in the process of investigation and observes in a scientific manner by observing without any personal like or dislike. It's always over there. Then we have surveys, when the researcher collects data from the people through questionnaires, interviews, and then analyzes that for his or her research matter. Analysis of existing documents and statistics. This is secondary in nature. Fields of sociology. If you are going to study sociology as a major, if you are going to pursue a career, a pathway in sociology, what are you most likely to be? What are you going to end up at the end of the day? Like most other social sciences, sociology is both an intellectual discipline and a profession. You may go for the pursuit of pure thought, pure sociological thought, pure sociological perspective, or you may adopt any career in an interdisciplinary manner. You may pursue pure sociological knowledge either, or adopt a skill-based and highly technical profession of one or more of the following. So we cannot afford to go for an explanation to every of these entries. Just a quick glance: teaching, social research, social work, professions like medicines, law, engineering and business, industry, rural and urban planning, public administration, civil services, policy making, business consulting, politics, architecture, child welfare and health welfare, gerontology, study of all age people, computer industry, military intelligence and military, entrepreneurship, international relations, criminal justice, city management. Some new emerging careers are action programs and development. Specializations in field of sociology. The various emerging fields of specialization in sociology, there are many. Like any other scientific discipline, its boundaries are fluid, dynamic, and encompassing. With the growth of this academic discipline, with the growth of encompassing knowledge with the passage of time, its scope is going to get broader and broader. An area of its subject matter that is not a color of its specialization at the moment would soon be there. For example, in 1950s and 60s, health concerns were not so actively there in sociology. Today, we find that there are hospitals and diagnostic clinics in the world where we would have a trained sociologist as a part of the HR, the team that this hospital or this diagnostic clinic would have. If we just go through the various fields of specialization, so aging or social gerontology, biosociology, collective behavior, social movements, community and rural society, comparative sociology or macro sociology. Macro means broader. It's antonym to micro, which means small, minute. Criminal justice, corrections, criminology or delinquency, cultural sociology, demography, development, modernization, social change, deviant behavior, social disorganization, economy and society, education, environmental sociology, history of sociology or social thought, the study of sociological perspectives and thought, human ecology, industrial sociology, international development, particularly third world cases, law and society, leisure, sports and recreation, marriage and the family, mass communication, public opinion, mathematical sociology, medical sociology, methodology, qualitative and quantitative approaches, microcomputing or computer applications, military sociology, occupations and professions, political sociology, race, ethnic or minority relations, religion, sex and gender, small groups, social control, social networks, social organization, formal or complex, social psychology, socialization, sociological practice, social policy, sociology of art, literature, sociology of knowledge, science, sociology of language, social linguistics, sociology of markets, sociology of mental health, sociology of work, stratification and mobility, urban sociology, visual sociology. As we studied earlier in this lecture, that at the same time we are going to be a part of so many social groups. Now, in order to make you understand them properly, all these social circles, they have particular colors, they have unique colors, they have differentiating colors. Just imagine your own self right over there in the center of all these overlapping circles. So, you have members in the family and you are a part of it. So, this is one such circle. Then, you have friends. This is another circle. At the same time, while being a member of a particular family, you also are there in a circle of your friends. And then, within the friends, you are going to have good friends, where you are going to have an extended intimacy level. Similarly, you have friends at the university. If you are in a workplace, maybe after your higher education or at the same time, so you have workmates, work fellows. You might also have friends of friends, random business acquaintances, people you just come across in your work relationships, webmates, people whom you're familiar with through internet, social media accounts like WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, etc. So, at the same time, you are going to be a part of all these overlapping circles. This is how the operational mechanics of sociology are there. Conclusion: sociology is dynamically interesting. Why? Because it tells us the various ways to identify and recognize ourselves as how we fit in this world and all of its social groups. These were just a couple of them, just to make you familiar with. Sociology gives us the perspective to understand how various groups organize themselves and in turn how society classifies them. It enables us to understand how various social variables like social, political, economic, status levels, education, ethnicity, or sexual orientation affect perceptions, our perceptions and the perceptions of others. Have a nice time, and then you are going to find the associated worksheet to this lecture. Again, stay home and stay safe and have a nice day. Take care of yourselves.